Oh hi, I'm pretty sure this is a picture from when I was in 8th grade. Once you get to a certain age, it's hard to remember and it gets depressing sifting through decades of regretful photographic evidence. I like to call it the Pauly Shore effect. I started thinking about the 8th grade because of seeing the film 8th Grade last week. I loved it and I'll get into why, but first I'd like to talk about my own 8th grade experience. Also by the end of this video, I hope to have said the word 8th so many times that it has lost all meaning. It already has way too many H's in it for its own good. I entered the 8th grade in the 1096th year of our Lord. To put that into perspective, Hulk Hogan had stunned the world by turning heel at Bash at the Beach, the first flip mobile phone went on sale, and Betty Rubble finally became part of Flintstone's Vitamins. So things were pretty crazy. Back in 6th grade, my middle school had burnt down. No joke, we were in the school when the fire broke out. Luckily, we were evacuated and nobody died, but most of the school needed to be torn down. In 8th grade, we were finally back. The new school had been built and we got to be part of the first student body in the new building. I was painfully and awkwardly shy. I had mini panic attacks anytime I needed to talk to anyone. The few friends I had made in elementary school had drifted away to other towns or were in different homerooms, which basically meant they were on Mars. However, this was the year that I met my friend Scott, who would eventually go on to save my life, but that's a entirely different story. I was also in my 3rd year of band, still enjoying putting my mouth around that hard wood. Wind. I have a phenomenal embouchure. I played the clarinet. I was trying desperately to become as good with it as possible, although that would prove to be like a pig attempting to become a great tree climber. It's just not gonna happen. That's right, I'm bigoted towards pigs. Now, even though I wasn't the greatest band member, we had a really awesome band program in the small town I grew up in, to the point where we were invited to a national festival in the Canadian capital. Any of my international viewers want to take a guess? That's right, we went to Ottawa. Ottawa. It's a city, I suppose. Ottawa. You gotta visit Ottawa. Ottawa. I really wish I was in Toronto. There were many shenanigans that happened when a bunch of 13 and 14-year-olds are on a school trip, and some I'm still legally prevented from talking about. But this is where I got a nickname, and I warn everyone that this is going to turn a bit crude. We were sleeping 4 to a room, 2 people in each bed. I, of course, was the angelic good student who desperately wanted to follow the rules. We needed to be in bed by 9 p.m. I can't overstate how lame I was back then. So I was in one bed with Sean. Don't worry, I was under the top sheet and he was on top of the top sheet. Otherwise, it'd be too gay. But I was snapped awake by Anthony shrieking with glee. Now, this wasn't exactly a unique occurrence. Anthony was known to be a bit of a troublemaker. I thought he was really funny and loved hanging out with him, but he did exaggerate. He claimed he was seeing 2 people engage in carnal pleasure in the office building across the street. Carnal Pleasure was the new Nintendo 64 game that had just come out, and no, it wasn't. I'm lying. They were At least that was what Anthony claimed. We didn't believe him, but then Sean went over to investigate and he confirmed. Then Brian went to check it out. He also claimed it was happening. That's when I started to believe it. Brian wasn't known to make things up like that, so I drugged myself out of the bed to go and take a look. It took a few seconds for my eyes to adjust, but then I saw it. 2 figures in an office, no clothes, exploring the magic of the human body. They were If you're familiar with the Kama Sutra, you may know the doggy style position. Well, that's what was going on. And I really don't know why these were the first words out of my mouth. It was probably a mixture of me trying to be funny and my lack of sleep. But I said, "He's mounted her like a mad dog in heat." I mean, it's not the funniest thing, but for teenagers, it broke the room into hysterics. This was an amazing feeling for somebody who was so shy that he barely said anything to anyone. For the rest of the trip, Brian kept repeating this story to anyone that would listen. He was and is a great storyteller, so it became more and more epic each time, but always punctuated by my lowbrow exclamation. It also provided me with the nickname of Mad Dog, something that I would use for many of my early internet avatars, including this YouTube channel. Try it out, youtube.com/maddog53. Takes you to my channel still. That Ottawa band trip slowly started bringing me out of the shell I had been in since the 1st grade and made me excited to see what was possible when I went off to high school the next year. And what's fascinating about that now, thinking back on it, is that my life is constantly fighting between 2 things. I felt accepted, but was still so lonely. Because I was now looked upon as this quiet but secretly crass kid, which made me slightly more popular, but for the wrong reasons. And yet, I liked it, but kind of also didn't. And it's hard to sum that feeling up effectively. Which brings us back to the movie 8th Grade, the first film directed by Bo Burnham. I'm not necessarily objective about the career of Bo. He had a few viral videos early in the history of YouTube, but I became much more a fan of his during his stand-up specials. I think he has a way to turn the hurt and loneliness that can be ever present in modern society and turn it into comedy that makes me laugh and cry. And Bo has been upfront about the reason he was compelled to write and direct a story about a girl suffering through the last week of 8th grade.
Because I've always been annoyed that we only talk about the people that go viral on the internet, and as someone that goes viral, it's actually not that interesting. And like, I remember just watching a video of a 13-year-old girl with a title of a video called How to Be Cool. And it's a 5-minute video, and I thought, like, if this was a performance in a movie, this would be incredible.
And that sentiment is all well and good, but if it wasn't anchored by the central performance by Elsie Fisher, it would completely fall apart. Here is an actress who is the right age, and I mean this in the best possible of ways, looks like an actual middle schooler. She doesn't have perfect skin or teeth, and that might seem mean, but I don't mean it to be. I mean, look at me. I'm the very last person who should be commenting on people's looks. But I found it refreshing to not be watching a movie with young people as protagonists who are actually being portrayed by people approaching 30. The plot is nothing flashy. It's a girl who doesn't have many friends and has made it a mission to push herself out of her comfort zone in the last week of 8th grade. In some moments she succeeds, and in others she doesn't. The drama for me comes from both relating so much to her struggle of just existing and also from now being an adult and wanting to try to convince her that she's worried about things that don't matter. Of course, having also been that age, I know that would be the absolute worst thing to do. What does this old even know? He was alive when Reagan was president. Gross. But that's the thing we sometimes forget as we age. When we're in middle school, every small thing is really the most important thing ever, which I can also foresee being many people's complaints. This is not a plot-heavy movie. Nothing really happens. Think of it as only one segment of Boyhood, except with a girl, and it's an hour and a half. But I think the comparison fits. Both 8th Grade and Boyhood are films where we are simply experiencing the life of another person. We are meant to empathize because of the shared life experience and to enjoy the character development as they stumble through life. Elsie Fisher's character Kayla finds a group of older friends and adopts a persona she thinks will make her popular. Much how I tried to adopt this role of crude jokester immediately after the Ottawa trip, both me and Kayla soon realized that trying to be something you're not is much too taxing on your psyche. If you're not into slow-paced films where not much happens, I don't think this film will change your mind. For those that this sounds like a great time at the movies, it is. I laughed and cried and left feeling enlightened and a bit worried. Enlightened because I felt like I got to understand this new generation of kids, how they still struggle as we always have, but the unfortunate thing is that they have social media that follows them home from school. I'm worried because it shows how much we are constantly performing for one another, whether it's on Snapchat or Instagram or here on YouTube. At such young ages, we are expected to have this amazing life, and if we dare show any hardships or realness, that can get us shunned. Which is weird for me because in 2005, it seemed like YouTube was destined to be the platform where that rawness and realness was how the new entertainment was going to be. And yet it has proven to be anything but. The virus of fakeness in old media was too strong for the new media to thwart, and I'm not immune to it. As much as I want to connect with you here, I'm reading off a teleprompter. It reminds me of something that Bo said during his panel at this year's VidCon.
I'm a victim to the internet as anybody. I'm addicted to it. I love it. I get inspired by it. I see that the internet's given visibility to people that never would have had visibility and set the country on fire. Yeah. We're hyper-connected and we're lonely. Yeah. We're overstimulated and we're numb. Yeah. All of these things exist. And I don't think that like young people on the internet are, you can have this conversation. We can feel this thing. We don't have to just get up and be like, creators! You know what I mean? Like, you can...
Like Bo Burnham, I constantly feel like I'm caught between two different things. The way that I'm presenting information is rife with artifice, but I also am deeply concerned with being honest with what I create. I'm hoping that you can see that I mean what I say. But if I live to be 1,000, I'll never understand Snapchat. Now that I've shared my story of 8th grade, please let me know what you remember from that year. And if you've seen the film 8th grade, let me know about that too. It was lovely talking with you. We'll do this again next Thursday.